In business news today, three things to know. First, a big sign of strength for the U.S. jobs market as new applications for unemployment dropped to its lowest level since 2006. Then, life support. Could General Motors be headed towards another bailout after reporting much lower quarterly profits and announcing a $400 million payout to compensate ignition switch victims? And spreading a message of hope and determination. How Cracker Barrel is teaming up with one author to share her inspirational story around the world. Arise Xchange starts right now. Hello, I'm Julian Phillips in for Andrew Smirchy Smirch. Great news for the labor market, showing signs it's finally heading on a more consistent track. Unemployment benefits are down once again, dropping to its lowest number in 8 years. The Labor Department says applications for jobless claims fell by 19,000 last week to 284,000. That's the lowest number since February 2006. 2 years before the recession started. But after gaining some steam, sales of new single-family homes fell by more than 8% in June. The Census Bureau says sales at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 406,000, down from 442,000 in May. Well, stocks holding steady today over mixed economic data. The Dow closing down to 17,083. The S&P 500 closing up to 1,987. And the NASDAQ ended the day closing down to 4472. Machinery giant Caterpillar said its earnings blew past expectations of $1.52, reporting $1.69 per share, while revenues fell short of estimates at $14.15 billion. Online retail giant Amazon's earnings missed expectations, but revenue fell right in line with what analysts were expecting. They were expecting a loss of 15 cents, but the company reported 27 cents per share with revenue of $19.34 billion. $19.34 billion, excuse me. And coffee chain conglomerate Starbucks said sales rose 6% for the quarter, reporting earnings of $512.6 million of 67 cents per share. 1 penny more than what analysts expected, and revenue rose to $4.15 billion. Now for a look at commodities. Gold closing down to $1,292.80 an ounce, and oil closing down to $102 per barrel. Well, for more on the jobless claims and its impact on the economy, we turn to Wells Fargo Funds Management Chief Portfolio Strategist Brian Jacobsen. He joins us from Milwaukee. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Julian.
Well, look, the number of unemployed workers applying for jobless benefits fell to the lowest level in more than 8 years, as we reported. What's your take on employment?
You know, what's even more impressive about the drop in initial unemployment claims is if you scale it relative to the total workforce, it's even better. So this, as you pointed out at the intro, this is the best number that we've seen in about 8 years. However, I have to give a little caution here because we aren't really seeing a lot of wage growth. And I think that's one of the things that's most disconcerting is we're not seeing the types of wage growth that are consistent with a robust economic recovery. The Bureau of Labor Statistics just this morning released their statement about quarterly median earnings of workers, and there hasn't been any growth year on year, even though inflation is up about 2.1%.
Well, basically what you're saying, you know, this may not be something to totally celebrate then.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the headline number looks great as far as the number of people who are applying for claims. We might see a really good number on August 1st when they report the payrolls number. However, there isn't a lot of wage growth there. And a lot of the growth that has been taking place has been in some of the lower paying segments of the job market.
Well, you know, that's what I was about to get to now. You know, there's a lot of, hip hip hooray, I guess, on Capitol Hill, especially with the Obama administration on the economy. But yeah, once again, the jobs are not the jobs that are higher paying jobs that existed before this recession.
That's absolutely right. If you see what most of them are, temporary jobs, we see also growth in retail and service industry jobs. I mean, these are decent jobs, don't get me wrong. However, they aren't the higher paying jobs. Also, a lot of times you're finding people are working part-time when they'd be rather working full-time.
What's going to happen to people? I mean, we don't talk about this enough, Brian, about folks who perhaps are not even looking for jobs anymore. They're so depressed, they just stop looking.
Yeah, there have been a lot of people who have dropped out of the labor force. So sometimes the way that the Bureau of Labor Statistics categorizes them is whether or not they're discouraged workers or if they are just sort of out of the workforce for a short period of time. What we've actually seen is that there has been a drop in the number of discouraged workers. So in a way, that drop in discouraged workers is somewhat encouraging.
Let's talk about new home sales, something that this has been something for me that I talk about a lot. They've dropped, and they fell sharply, as a matter of fact, to a 3-month low. What's your take on the housing market?
Well, it's a good thing that you're talking about this because it is a big issue that not enough people are really talking about. If you look at new home sales, that's a really important component when you're looking at, say, gross domestic product for the United States. We know that GDP for the first quarter dropped at an annual rate of 2.9%. A big component, maybe 2.5% to 5% of that of GDP is housing, new home sales. And that's actually going to be lower in the second quarter than it was in the first quarter. So we could actually see housing making a negative contribution to GDP for the second quarter.
Brian, you got to factor in here interest rates. I understand interest rates are a little bit higher, perhaps, and also the banks are still very stingy. They're not giving out a lot of money. That's not helping things any.
No, it's not. Interest rates have gone up, and that's actually one of the reasons why we saw the slowdown in the economy. Janet Yellen of the Federal Reserve has pointed that out as being one of the major factors here, is when you see a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage go from, say, 3.5% to 4.5%, yes, 4.5% is still a good number. However, it is higher, and it makes it less affordable. If you think about some of the math behind that, that could mean that a person who could have afforded, say, a $250,000 home can now only afford a $220,000 home. That's a big difference.
You've got less than 20 seconds here. Do you expect a correction in the stocks, Brian?
I do not. One of the big things that could trigger a correction in the stock market would be a dramatic increase in interest rates or a rolling over of corporate profits. Thankfully, neither of those really looks to be on the horizon.
All right. Brian Jacobsen, as always, sir, thank you for your insight.
Thank you.
Coming up, more woes for General Motors when Arise Xchange returns. Stay with us.
If I was building my own news network, first thing I think I'd want high-quality reporters, very educated, intelligent people.
Hello, I'm Francesca Maxime.
I'm Julian Phillips.
I'm Wendy Gillette.
I'm Sophia Songhai.
I'm Gary Anthony Ramsey. Thank you for joining us here in New York City.
I would like to see more people of color represented in high positions in media.
We've got world-class journalists, veteran journalists who have been in this industry for decades, not just in front of the camera, but behind the scenes as well.
People need to understand the problems that are going on in the community are much closer than we actually think they are.
Kayla Phillips is one of the shoppers who is suing Barney's, and she is here with her attorney. What is it that you want from them?
Not to judge every African-American person that comes in your store.
Welcome back to Arise Xchange. GM expects to pay at least $400 million in compensation to victims of the faulty ignition switch problem that has been linked to 13 deaths. Now, that recall cost the world's largest automaker about $1.5 billion in the second quarter, but the company did post a net profit of $190 million. Well, so far, GM has recalled nearly 30 million vehicles. Al, the car coach, Lauren Fix, joins us with more by phone. Lauren, I got to tell you that $190 million may seem like a lot, but that's only 11 cents per share compared to what GM posted last year, $1.26 billion, or something like 72 cents per share.
Right. I mean, obviously, the huge impact on their profit margin comes from the fact that they've had to pay out millions, and there's still millions more to pay out, not just in fines. But we've got, Kenneth Feinberg has a pretty much good-sized fund of a couple $1 billion he's going to divide up amongst the victims. And there are now, as of yesterday, 3 more victims. We're up at a total of 17, and more are coming in, and they're being evaluated daily. Because once you open that up August 1st, people are allowed to go into that fund, there could be more deaths, and that could have a huger impact on their stock as well as their profit margin.
Well, Lauren, you make a good point there because they're talking about 13 deaths so far officially, but the estimates say they could go as high as 100 deaths, and this $400 million could stretch perhaps to $600 million and go higher than that. Lauren, can you hear us?
Oh, I'm here now. I apologize. apologize.
Yeah, did you hear what I was saying? I was saying that basically the $400 million that they were projecting here could go as high as $600 million and probably higher than that.
Oh, yes, I expect that it's going to be higher than that. And I don't think we're done with these recalls yet. As of yesterday, there was another 723,000 cars recalled, and they were all the way up to brand new GMCs, Cadillacs, Chevrolets, and Buicks. So I think that we're far from over with yet on the recalls, as well as far from over with on what they're going to have to pay out. And there's going to be additional fines. And many of the congressmen that were part of that Senate hearing are saying that, they want to see additional fines on General Motors. They're thinking in their heads that they shouldn't be making a profit. But, when you add in China and that's where they're making the bulk of their sales, it's going to be real hard. You can't take all their profits away. That's still not going to be the answer to the problem.
Right. Well, there's a lot of factors involved in here. And, of course, you're talking about profits of $190 million. I'm even kind of scratching my head with that, with a 30 million vehicle recall.
Right. I mean, that is part of the problem. I mean, they're always going to be making money. That's the idea. They're always selling cars, and a good sales department and any dealership will obviously go out and say, hey, your car's in for a recall. Why it's here? Let me show you a new car. We have employee discounts. So they're real smart marketing, and it is the smartest to get someone into a newer car, get rid of that older car, and get it off the road. So that's where they're making their profits and sales. Obviously
so, and people are still buying their cars. As a matter of fact, GM has substantially cleared, I'm quoting that, a company-wide safety review that looked for lingering, unaddressed problems. So that's good news for GM.
Absolutely, and Jeff Boyer is heading their safety program, and I know they're trying to be as proactive as possible, but I think right now they're sifting through all those desk drawers where people kind of set things aside where they found problems, and they're actually bringing them to the surface. And it's probably wise from a marketing PR standpoint to send it out a little bit at a time rather than dump every single problem out at once, because I think the impact could be very negative. So this way, if it's a little at a time, people become almost what we call safety deaf. They're like, yeah, I heard that before. Yeah, I know. My car's recalled. I've talked to people, and they're just like, I'm just going to go to the dealer and get it fixed. I'm not getting rid of my car. I love my car. So I get it, and so that's part of why their sales are still where they are and their profits are as well.
Lauren, we got about 30 seconds left. Real quickly, the compensation expert Kenneth Feinberg says that there's no cap on how much GM might have to pay out. And that concerns me. Should it concern GM?
No, it shouldn't concern GM, because what they want to do is make as many customers want to look like they're doing the right thing, and I give Mary Barra credit for making that happen, because if they had put a cap on it, you know that they would reach that cap very quickly no matter what that number was. So by leaving it open-ended as it is, I think it's smart on Kenneth Feinberg's side, and it's good to try and compensate as many people as possible, although you can't compensate for a life. Right. The least they could do is do their best.
Okay, we got to go. The car coach, Lauren Fix. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Julian.
Time now for our business ticker, stories making headlines across the nation. President Obama is calling for an end to a tax loophole known as corporate inversion. And that's when companies reincorporate overseas to reduce their tax burden. The proposed change would deem any company with half of its business in the United States to be U.S. domiciled, thus preventing corporations from avoiding federal taxes. Well, so far this year, 9 inversion deals have been agreed to. The administration says deals like this would cost the U.S. an estimated $17 billion in revenue over the next decade. Well, Standard & Poor's says it may soon be facing SEC charges over its ratings. Regulators have told S&P they are considering taking civil action against it for alleged violations of security laws over ratings of 6 transactions in 2011 tied to commercial mortgages. Well, in a separate case, the U.S. Justice Department last year brought a $5 billion lawsuit against the agency, claiming it knowingly inflated its ratings of risky mortgage investments as the housing market was collapsing back in 2006. Well, the European Central Bank website has been hacked. Well, the ECB says personal contact information had been stolen from the bank's website, exposing some home addresses and phone numbers that were not encrypted. The database that was breached is not connected to the bank's internal network, which means no sensitive financial data was compromised. German authorities have launched an investigation. Hope they get to the bottom of that. And these days, $120,000 just doesn't buy what it used to. Maybe tuition for 2 or 3 kids or a small home. Or perhaps a TV set. That's right. Samsung's latest technological advancement is a 105-inch ultra-high-def curved television set that checks out at 6 figures. That's right, 6 figures, folks. The $120,000 set isn't just for watching normal TV, though. The screen splits into 4 viewers. You can watch TV, stream video, and surf the web all at the same time. Samsung says the TV goes on sale tomorrow. I won't be in line for that one. Well, record profits are being reported tonight by a California drug company that makes one of the most expensive drugs ever brought to market. It's $1,000 a pill. And it turns out we'll all be paying for it. Sovaldi, a breakthrough drug for hepatitis C.
We've got a cure.
Hepatitis C patients almost can't believe it.
I've had 2 liver transplants, and I still have the virus. And this offers me the possibility to actually be free of this illness.
And at $1,000 a pill, Sovaldi is big money for its maker, Gilead Sciences of Foster City. Gilead announced its revenue for the second quarter of this year jumped to $6.5 billion, compared to $2.7 billion 1 year ago. Its product sales skyrocketed to nearly $6.5 billion, compared to $2.6 billion last year at this time. But one product alone accounted for $3.5 billion in revenue, $3 billion of that from sales in the U.S. But for many patients, treatment, even if it is a cure at $1,000 a day for 12 weeks, is a tough financial pill to swallow.
I personally don't think that this cost can be justified.
John Rother with the nonprofit National Coalition on Healthcare thinks it's outrageous.
I think that it's a case of the manufacturer just charging whatever they think they can get away with.
There seems to be no debating that Sovaldi works. Health experts say it cures 90% of patients infected with the most common strain of the liver-destroying virus. And there are 3 to 4 million people in the U.S. infected with hepatitis C. But patient advocates like Rother say many who suffer from hep C are drug addicts, prison inmates, or low income. So we're all going to pay the price for Sovaldi.
We're going to see amazing numbers in terms of the cost of Sovaldi to the system. And what this means is your insurance premiums will go up next year in order to cover that cost. So it's something that affects everyone, whether you take the drug personally or not.
Well, the U.S. Senate is asking Gilead to justify the cost of the drug. Gilead points out Sovaldi may prevent liver cancer, as well as the need for expensive liver transplants. And in the long run, that saves money. Ahead, fixing FIFA, why a top U.S. soccer official wants to change the way the organization does business. Stay with us.
One of the great things about Arise News, it is truly a multicultural global channel that is paying attention to communities of all different kinds, not just here in the United States, not just in Africa, but all around the world, as we're giving a voice to the people that don't traditionally have the kind of a voice that a mass media organization can have. You're getting here at Arise News that you're not going to find at the other networks is a unique perspective, and I think that's part of what Arise is here to do.
Arise serves underserved communities by bringing them news, information, sports, and entertainment from places that are becoming part of the world economy, that are becoming a part of the world voice, and decisions that are affecting things in the world that people care about. They care about the economy. They care about safety and security. And if you come to Arise and you watch our broadcast, these are the things we're going to bring to you every day, 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to Arise Xchange. Changing the way FIFA's soccer world governing body does business. That's the goal of the U.S. soccer chief, Sunil Gulati. As the next 2 World Cups continue to be mired in controversy and accusations of corruption, U.S. Soccer Federation President and FIFA Executive Committee member Gulati is calling for the organization to be more transparent and that bidding rules to be tightened up. More on this from Atlanta. Stephen Colavito, sports business analyst and Oppenheimer and company executive director, joins us. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Julian.
I got to ask you about this. What's the latest of the corruption rumors?
Well, Michael Garcia, who is a former U.S. attorney, was headed up actually by FIFA about 18 months ago to investigate some of the allegations and the corruption on both the bidding process with Russia in 2018 and Qatar in 2022. What's interesting is that a couple of days ago, FIFA, which it was supposed to be made public, FIFA then turned around and said that under ethics code, that it was going to be basically given to FIFA, and then FIFA would decide probably towards the end of September whether or not they're going to disseminate any of the findings of the investigation. So, it has been, FIFA has been for the last 20 years kind of been marred in scandal. So this is kind of apropos because this is what FIFA has done. They're not transparent and haven't been transparent, and certainly this doesn't indicate that they're going to change.
I'll tell you, being marred in scandal, FIFA, that's just the tip of the iceberg for that organization here. What is the status of this report so far?
Well, at this point, nobody knows. That's the thing is that Mr. Garcia was actually in Sao Paulo. He has done interviews for the last 18 months. He is supposed to, by the end of this month, actually give the report to the ethics committee at FIFA. At that time, President Blatter will then take that through ethics, and then they're supposed to disseminate it to the public in September. But whether or not anybody's anybody's actually implemented in regards to what they've done wrong, or whether or not any of the executives are actually fired, who knows at this point?
You know, I don't think we have this picture here. FIFA President Sepp Blatter, basically shaking hands with some representative from Qatar. I mean, come on, Stephen, Qatar? I mean, they have so many problems over there, especially labor problems. You got the Nepalese and the Indians over there. Their passports are taken away from them. And labor, they're already putting together one soccer stadium. They're talking about people dying at the rate of 1 a day. You've got to be kidding me.
Well, and the president actually met with the Qatar officials today to talk about some of those labor issues, because I think FIFA understands that it's a bit of a PR nightmare for them. And how do players play in 120-degree heat? I agree with you. Some of the things that I think will come out of this is that if, in fact, FIFA wants to make a change, and this is, I think, one of the reasons why U.S. soccer officials are basically making the pitch right now, pardon the pun, for change, is that if, in fact, FIFA wants to change direction, the U.S. is ready to go for 2022. They've already got the stadiums. They've got the infrastructure. So if, in fact, there's enough that FIFA wants to make a change, the U.S. is ready, and I think that's one of the reasons that the U.S. is kind of pushing for more transparency.
Okay, well, look, that's a bold move by the U.S., but come on, I'm sure they have certain concerns in wanting to bring, World Cup to the United States. There's money involved, but are any other countries jumping on board in outrage over this?
Well, yeah. In fact, England has decided that they are not going to bid on any FIFA events until after the president resigns. Now, he's been in office basically since 1998. It really is if you think about Rome being FIFA, then the president is basically Caesar. It's his rule. He's been doing this for a long time. If he decides he wants to run again, he's going to be reelected. But there are countries now that are backing out and saying that we don't want to be a part of this. We don't want to be a part of this organization, while the current head is with Blatter at the head.
Okay, you're talking about Rome and Caesar, but who's Nero while all this burns to the ground?
Well, it's interesting because, ultimately what is happening is FIFA's getting stronger. Rome is actually getting bigger because, just a couple of months ago, Fox and Telemundo basically signed a deal with FIFA where they're paying 2 times as much as ABC did and ESPN did for their rights. And so, Rome will continue to build as long as the money's there. The money's there, and so this will continue to go on. Okay,
I've got the fiddle, Stephen Colavito, and we'll follow this as we go along. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great night. Thanks.
Okay. Up next, a very inspiring corner office when Arise Xchange returns.
Last week on Arise Xchange, mergers, bank settlements, and a record push for the Dow top the news. It's not quite Janet Yellen's midnight ride, but today she sounded the alarm.
I can't believe she was telling people what to do about the stock market.
2 officers from the Fruitland Park Police Department may be members of the local KKK. Maybe they could get a job doing security at the Klan rallies.
The color now is not white, black, red. It's green, as in U.S. currency.
Watch this week for more Arise Xchange.
I believe that people are watching news less today, definitely. I think that more so people are going online to catch their news.
We've numbed the human mind to murders and all these bad things.
The content is a constant loop of the same stuff. So there needs to be, new content all the time.
Arise News, every culture, every angle. news can definitely be improved when reflecting diversity.
A lot of mainstream news, they don't dive into it.
Who wants to hear about negativity all the time?
They only show what they think people want to know and not what people really should know.
World-based stories. That's what I enjoy the most.
I think diversity of news is important to the world so that everybody will be aware of their surroundings and what is happening today.
Arise News, every culture, every angle.
In tonight's Corner Office, a powerful story of inspiration, hope, as well as determination. Sherri Smith went from a career as a high-powered attorney for Coca-Cola to the author of a series of children's books that encourage while teaching valuable lessons. Smith's popular Game Day Rules series was born while she was undergoing chemotherapy for cancer. And now restaurant franchise Cracker Barrel is helping to spread the word. Welcome, author, philanthropist, and entrepreneur Sherri Smith, joining us from Atlanta. You know, I got to tell you, I've been reading your story, and it brings tears to my eyes here, but it also gives me a sense of resolve and courage. Now, you were a high-powered attorney. You know, you had a great career, you were making a lot of money, then all of a sudden you get diagnosed with cancer. What went through your mind, and what made you to start to write these books?
Well, when I first was diagnosed with cancer, my immediate thought was that I wanted to get past it as quickly as possible and get right back to my career at the Coca-Cola Company. At the time of my diagnosis, I was up for a position to move to Vienna, Austria. So that first round for me, I was really focused on, let me get past this so I can get my life back. Mm-hmm. And about 2 years into the treatments, and I realized that this was going to be a long-term battle for me. And I needed to refocus my energy on not having a life as an attorney anymore. And what did I really want to do? And reading for me has always been a refuge. My parents really instilled that in us as children. And throughout my career as an attorney at Coke, and even before that and after my illness, I read to children because I felt that that was something that's very important. And when I resumed reading to children after the diagnosis of cancer, it actually inspired me to start writing children's books of my own. So that's how it got started for me.
And you have a number of books out there. The key thing is here, you have a character of helping people. Prior to this, you were volunteering at homeless shelters and schools and tutoring. And of course, as you were growing up, you're talking about your grandparents. I think your grandmother read to your grandfather who couldn't read. As a result of this, and I think what people need to understand and know, you took the focus off of yourself and started putting it on other people. I think that must be key in terms of your keeping steady in your recovery.
That has made a tremendous difference in my recovery. My parents wanted for us to be civic-minded outside of church. And we did a lot of volunteer work even when I was a child. So actually before I started writing books, I wanted to express my thankfulness to God for how far He had brought me and all of the blessings that I have, the support system. And I actually worked with the legal department at the Coca-Cola Company to raise money for adults who were facing financial devastation as a result of undergoing cancer treatments. We've had 2 benefits so far and raised close to $400,000 that went right into the Atlanta community. It's called the Atlanta Cancer Care Foundation. And it really gave me a new lease on life to know that I could be productive. It put things into perspective for me. And I found that not having the focus on that daily battle or what my worries were, what my concerns were, that to express thankfulness and to try to help people in their time of need really was very uplifting for me.
Right.
And it actually really helped set the stage for me to start writing books.
Well, I tell you, we've run out of time here. You are certainly an example of truth and courage. You got the 2013 Author of the Year by publisher Mascot Books, and you've been recognized by so many people, and we just want to thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's quite an honor. I'm so excited. And I just really appreciate your support in getting my message out about my books. And I'm so thankful that Cracker Barrel has given me a platform to be able to get this message out to children about being good sports.
God bless you. Tomorrow on Xchange, we'll weigh in on the controversy surrounding the proposed housing and commercial development at Grand Canyon. And thank you for watching Xchange. We'll see you tomorrow.